Hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this brand new series of Hearts of Iron 4, playing the Kaiserreich mod, and this time we are going to be playing as the USA. So basically there has been an update for Kaiserreich which has added focus trees for each of the American Civil War factions, so that is what we are going to try and play with. Now I should say early on that there is a little something which is going to be happening a little bit later on in this. So I very strongly recommend that you watch through this. I think this is going to be an absolutely fantastic series. So let's get dug in. Oh no, there's one other thing which I should mention actually, is I'm going to be playing this without foresight. So I don't know the Civil War is going to be breaking out. So if you see me doing crazy things like building industry around Chicago, for example, I'm doing that because it might actually happen. And I don't yet know which faction in the Civil War I'm going to play as. I'm going to kind of hope that that comes through organically, depending on which sides I decide to take. Alright, so, brief history. The USA almost left their policy of isolation to intervene in the Weltkrieg, but ultimately kept out of the war. This led to a victory for the Central Powers. Since then, the USA has struggled economically. European trade opportunities and the repayment of their loans to the Entente have been made impossible by a German victory. Still, internationally regarded as a nobody, she now faces internal dissent from the Republican Democratic hegemony is challenged by two new groups, the Syndicalists and the American First Union. With a mounting crisis at home and only modest reputation overseas, things aren't looking good for the United States of America. We start with some focuses. We have the Great Depression. So, of course, Black Monday and the effects of that do hit the German Empire, and probably harder than they hit us. We do actually start with the Great Depression. So that is a reduction in production efficiency, factory output, construction speed, and consumer goods factories. Since the collapse of the New York stock market in 1925, the United States has been gripped by the Great Depression. In addition to the massive economic woes plaguing America from its never-ending crisis, the Great Depression has given energy to both Long and Reed as they campaign against one another and the establishment. And then we have a political crisis. The United States is in crisis. The Great Depression, which has been going on for over a decade now, still has not let up. This has allowed the far-left Combined Syndicates of America and the far-right America First Party to gain strength in recent years as alternatives to solve the crisis. Others look to MacArthur and the army as a way to solve the radicalization in crisis. Everyone is afraid of a coming civil war, should things not let up and be resolved, or one of the more radical choices win the upcoming 1936 elections. Alright, so we're going to be playing as the USA, we are going to be playing on veteran, and I'm going to leave everything as they are. I'm not changing any of that. This focus is going to be squarely on the United States, although we will, of course, be keeping a close eye on international affairs and events. Yeah, good. Let's do this! And, of course, the game then promptly doesn't load properly, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, for some reason it does that from time to time. The UI just doesn't load, but I have just restarted the game. The settings are exactly the same, and we should be good to go. So, at the very start, we are unable to get any focuses. They're all locked until the 1936 election. The elections are in November, so we need to wait until then. We can, however, start some things building. We do have some industrial power, although most of it is used for consumer goods. Like, our consumer goods penalty right now is atrocious. Look there, consumer goods factories, 40%. That's added to the 30% from the civilian economy. So in fact, we have 30% civilian factories actually available. However, we're going to do the classical Mordred thing, which is building up our infrastructure. So I'm going to make sure that the entire East Coast is sitting at 7. Or maybe also the industrial area. I think we're going to do something like this. So those are going up to 8. No, we're going to get everything to 7. First. Something like that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So we should get those building. The reason I'm doing this is because you suffer some absolutely atrocious factory construction penalties at the start of the game. However, that does not usually affect factory construction. It's actually the civilian. Here we go. Plus 30%. No, yeah. Construction speed for military and civilian factories minus 30%. That does not apply for infrastructure and does not apply for dockyards. So the other thing is that we could build some more naval yards. But I don't think I want to do that just yet. We have also got some military industries which we can start using on equipment. I think we're actually going to go for a fairly decent spread. Something like that. We have loads of resources. That's one of the benefits of who we're playing as. Look at that oil. Yes. And we have some free dockyards as well. In fact, we have tons of dockyards. We are a pretty good nation for navies and things. So I think one of the first things I'm going to do, actually, is research Tier 2 battleships. They are a 36 technology. Or we could get Tier 2 heavy cruisers. No, let's get some battleships going early on. And then we're going to do the standard thing for the other techs. Something along those lines. Marvellous. So yeah, let's build a couple of Tier 2 destroyers first of all. We'll just use up our dockyards on this, and then we can just cancel them out once those have been constructed. Let's build, like, 10. Sure, why not? Okay, and then let's unpause. We do have a couple of troops. I'm just going to leave them for them. Oh no, they could actually do training. So let's go and train them. All of you, new army, start training. Off you go. Kaiserreich Alpha 0.4.3 PDX conversion. Thank you, Kaiserreich team. Great job. I want to know everything. Alright, good stuff. America in 1936. The United States in 1936 stands in crisis. The United States were able to escape the Weltkrieg, which allowed its prosperity to continue well into the 1920s. However, the victory by the German Empire in the French and later British revolutions would lead to the Wall Street crash of 1925. This sent the United States into the Great Depression and allowed the Berlin stock market to take its place in the world. The election of Herbert Hoover in 1928 showed promise for fixing America. However, Hoover was unable to fix the problems of the Depression. This fueled the rise of radical parties in America, from the Combined Syndicate of America on the far left and the American First Party on the far right. The fact that Hoover won a re-election by the House of Representatives in 1932, and the fact that the Great Depression isn't over, means that the problems do not look to be going away soon. Many throughout the country fear the disaster will happen should one of the extreme parties come into power, or nothing is done to solve the Depression. Low popularity. That means even less political power gain. Yeah, I was kind of expecting our political power just to be completely tanked from the very beginning. We do, however, get the profits from the legation's cities, which is excellent. So we have some benefits to our consumer goods and also a little bit more factory output. We're going to be losing a whole bunch of points just because, or rather, we're going to be gaining points because we're not going to have a national focus. But there will likely be events and things which are firing. Okay, Kerensky just got shot. I wonder if this is one of the games where we're going to see a Russian Civil War as well. That'd be kind of cool. Russia Civil War, Spanish Civil War, American Civil War. I want to see that happen. Edward VIII, crowned King of Britain. George didn't last very long. 21 days to be precise. Well, in this game. It'll be interesting to see what Canada and Mexico do here. I mean, these are two powers that could really influence events. Yeah, should be interesting. Should be very interesting. Oh, I can't wait to play through this. Alright, Black Monday, the 3rd of February 1936. Bad things happen to Germany. Black Monday hits America. Despite the political turmoil going on throughout the country, it looked like the economy of the United States might finally be recovering after the Wall Street crash in 1925. However, today, devastating Berlin crashes finally hit America and sent our economy into a downward spiral yet again. Reed and Long have come out railing against the corrupt bankers who let the crash happen. Curtis and Garner have both pledged to fix the economy should they win their next election. The Great Depression just got even worse. Fantastic. Just what we needed, an even worse Great Depression. Electoral gridlock in France. Oh, bloody hell. Coming in France in the world's leading syndicalist nation. 5th Anglo-Afghan War. World premiere of Modern Times. The premiere of Charlie Chaplin's new movie, Modern Times, is attended in New York by personalities such as Jack Reed, Marco Piver and Philip Snowden, who has come to the USA for the occasion. The comedy film, featuring Chaplin's famous Little Tramp character, is seen as an anti-capitalist and anti-Fordist manifesto in favour of the Combined Syndicates of America. After a few days, it is censored by the federal government, judged as too provocative so shortly before the election. So bad, it was funny. Battle of the Overpass in Detroit, Michigan, the automotive capital of the world. Walter Reuther and Richard Frankenstein, the leaders of the United Auto Workers Association, called a general strike against the Ford Motor Company and proclaimed themselves for unionism, not Fordism, demanding higher pay and less hours for automotive workers. At 2 p.m. today, a photographer from the Detroit Free Press asked to take a photo of the leaders of the UAW, standing on the overpass with the Ford sign in the background. While they were posing, a group of 40 men from the Ford service department approached from behind and began to beat up on them with their batons. The group then continues their attack on some of the beret-wearing women present to pass out leaflets. This will hurt us far more than it hurt the Unionists. Vice President Curtis recovers. Many in America feared the worst when Vice President Charles Curtis, presumptive Republican nominee to succeed Herbert Hoover, suffered a heart attack earlier this morning. The White House now has finally announced the Vice President is slowly recovering. Curtis would be the first president of Native American ancestry, but his poor health seems to be a dark omen for the end of the Hoover administration. Let's hope he will have a good running mate. Downfall and you're right, because the Vice President would become president in the case of the President's death. That does not bode well for Curtis. Downfall and stability. We are now low stability, which is even more consumer goods required, and even less of other things. Like, are we actually building anything? We have 6 civilian factories out of the 86 actually working on construction right now. That's hilariously bad, actually. That is atrocious. The death of Pius the 11th. All of the Italian Federation mourns the death of His Holiness Pope Pius the 11th. Succession of his... Right, yes. So that is the Italian Federation getting a new... Well, no, they're in the College of Cardinals right now, waiting for the election of a new pope. So that's probably a period like vanilla UK, where you're waiting for the new king to be proclaimed. Oh man, political power is so bad. At least it's actually a good thing that we have no focuses right now, so that we can recover that political power. Because if we had a focus, we would be gaining a grand total of 0.5 political power a day. The 100th anniversary of the Battle of the Alamo. Today marks the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Alamo, where over 200 brave Texans fought and died for the freedom of the newly created Republic of Texas. Remember the Alamo and the political power it gives us. Remilitarization of Olitania. So that is Romania making noises against Germany. How do our divisions look? Not too bad. Father Charles Coulin, CBS radio broadcasts. 3 years ago from today, Father Charles Coulin started doing a weekly radio broadcast in America. More than 50 million people turn on their radios and listen. He is a raving anti-Semite, claiming that the syndicalist revolution in France was forementioned by the Jew, and the Berlin stock market crash is an international conspiracy of Jewish bankers, and somehow people still tune in. His hate speech will not be tolerated by the church, and the Pope is expected to make a decision whether to ask the United States government to shut down the broadcast so his hateful message cannot reach the public. Yeah, he is becoming dangerous. Shut him down. Political power reduction, but the Italians like us more. But it's the right thing to do. Actually, is it? That would be totally against freedom of speech. It's right for the stability of America. You know, patriots and everything. An act belonging to patriots. Something like that. St. Patrick's Day flood. On March 16th, 1936, warmer than usual temperatures led to the melting of large amounts of snow and ice in the upper Allegheny and Monongahela rivers. The rivers and their tributaries had already been over their banks and are now threatening the city of Pittsburgh. On March 17th, 1936, the waters reached the flood stage of 25 feet. Overnight, heavy rain caused the water to rise even higher, and on March 18th, the water peaked at 46 feet, 21 feet above the flood stage. We must help the people. All the people can help themselves. No, we're going to help the people. I don't know why that gives us political power. Surely that should cost us political power to send aid. The First International Congress. Representatives from the numerous syndicalist and socialist nations have gathered in Paris today. It won't just be the defining moment in the history of the ideologies. And another downfall in stability. We're now on very low stability. Afghanistan and India made peace. Afghanistan still exists. Right, so what does that penalty do? Even more consumer goods. Are we on 0 now? We must be on 0 now. No, we still have 6. We're on 0. So nothing is getting built. Awesome. Our industry is terrible. Annie Kenney, elected chairman of the TUC. The 1936 Trade Union Congress in the Union of Britain was made out to be decisive. As the dust settled, Anne Kenney, the leader of the Congregationalists, was elected the new chairman, or chairwoman in this case. Kenney is one of the few female leaders on the planet, and our ideology of radical feminist and egalitarian approach fit the situation. Interesting. Are the troops trained yet? Yeah, they are. So let's stop you doing that. What is it? April. We still have a ways before we can actually do anything. That election is kind of important to the future of this game. A lot of things will happen. The Indian Citizenship Act of 1936, and Mark Leake just declared war on Mongolia. In order to gain more sympathy from the North and West, it has been proposed the Senate and the House that the Indian Citizenship Act be passed, effectively elevating all indigenous peoples in the United States from second-class citizens to full citizenship. Pass the act, hopefully this will gain us some sympathy. Or veto it. No, we're going to pass it. Absolutely. Egalitarian rights. Very important. Electronic mechanical engineering. Let's get mechanical computing then for even more science boost. Turkestan Khanate declared war on Alish order, so this is the Russian miners doing things. How's Germany doing? You're still in the grips of Black Monday. Yeah, you've not even started your recovery yet. Oh no, you have. You've got the aftermath of Black Monday right there. So your recovery has already started. Interesting, interesting. Still nothing happening with Russia. What have they gone with? I can't tell. Who was their boss? Who's the Russian boss man? Komilov. I have a feeling with Komilov things tend to be relatively stable. Which is unfortunate. I really was hoping for a three-way civil war. That would be amazing. Or three civil wars, rather. So, do we have the resources to build any units? We might. Let's queue up an infantry division. The trial of Sacco and Vanzetti. Two immigrants from Italy, Sacco and Vanzetti, have been accused of killing a guard and paymaster at the local bank in Braintree, Massachusetts. A town outside of Boston, the case has quickly become the trial of the century, for Sacco and Vanzetti are anarchists. Unsurprisingly, the CUSA has come out strongly in favour of the two men, while the American First has come out against them. However the case goes, it looks like they will anger plenty of people, so if we go with they are innocent, then authoritarian Democrats, paternal autocrats, syndicalists and radical socialists become more popular. Oh no, sorry. Everyone becomes more popular regardless. And Italy likes us more, socialist Italy likes us less. I'm going to have to say they are guilty. Like, they murdered a guy. The Arab Congress, the Arab revolt in the Welsh Creek was a failure, mostly due to the defeat of the Entente and millions of Arabs living in the Levant and Iraq stayed under Ottoman rule. And I've totally just turned that thing on again. Don't even know what button that is. N. Ah. I know I've hit that several times, probably when I missed the spacebar for the pausing. National unity, 50%. Yeah, things are looking up. Basic machine tools. The Polish military seized control. In order to prevent a total collapse of the government in Poland yesterday, the Sejm passed an emergency measure to invite the Polish military to create a new government until economic and political situation stabilizes. The Polish military moved swiftly under the guidance of Władysław Sikorski, who declared national curfews in the wake of the sudden military takeover. Polish military units now patrol the streets of Warsaw, and many wonder if, even after the situation stabilizes, the military intends to stay and create another military dictatorship in Eastern Europe. So Poland did also get a focus tree, which is kind of cool. Alright, so let's get concentrated industry. We're America, we're unlikely to get bombed. Unless, of course, a civil war or something break out, but that will never happen. I mean, this is America. We don't have civil wars here. The Great Heat Wave of 36. A heat wave has struck the continental United States and Canada, the most severe heat wave in modern history in North America. The Great Heat Wave started in late June and went up over 100 Fahrenheit, 38 degrees centigrade, as drought conditions worsened due to a continual lack of rain. Now in July, the heat has reached all-time records. In Steele, North Dakota, temperatures have reached 121 degrees Fahrenheit, 50 degrees Celsius. In Ohio, temperatures have reached 110 Fahrenheit, which is close to tying a record set in 1934. This comes at a time of major political unrest. In the America First Council, a major force in the Midwest politics, and socialist and syndicalist mobs and militias gathered arms in the Great Lakes region. The drought is continuing, and over 3,000 reported deaths have been linked to it. Many people are suffering from heat stroke and heat exhaustion. Farmers across the continent saw their worst harvest on record, causing corn and wheat prices to skyrocket. And this heatwave does not seem to be giving up anytime soon. Oh, pressed F again. N. Whatever. More things are going bad. Yay. June. 5 months until election. The death of Alexander Berkman. Today the writer, leader of the American anarcho-syndicalist movement and would-be assassin Alexander Berkman passed away after losing his battle with prostate condition. For his funeral, his body will be taken back to his homeland in Vilnius, Lithuania. He was the leader of the syndicalist movement in the Americas, and the movement suffers a major setback with his departure. And the torch goes on to Mr. Reed, who is one of the people that we... Oh no, he's the CSA leader. Long is the American Union, and these two are kind of neutrals. Then, of course, General MacArthur is not displayed here prominently for any reason whatsoever. Absolutely none. He's just like a general boss man person thing. Gone with the Wind. Margaret Mitchell published today her novel Gone with the Wind, which immediately received white support and is maybe the next Pulitzer Prize. Set in the Old South during the American Civil War, many saw it as a reminder of the strained political situation in the United States. Many America First Southerners claimed that the novel was supporting their cause. My dear, I don't give a damn. Political power. Excellent. So what are our leaders like? Charles Curtis, backroom backstabber. Reduction in consumer goods required, that's good. However, also reduction in political power. Stimson is trade deal opinion. Chapin, construction speed and resource gain. Consumer goods factories increase though, that's not great. Crime fighter, increase in political power gain and reduction in recruitable population factor. That's actually quite strong. Recruitable population factor is not the same as recruitable population. On Independence Day, the 4th of July, celebrations took place all over the country. Nearly everyone has set aside their political differences to celebrate the traditions of the United States with fireworks, parades, barbecues, beer, picnics, and baseball games. We celebrate our diplomatic ideals, plus 20 political power. So how's the situation? How's Mongolia doing? Mongolia has brought in Tibet. Doesn't look like much is happening there. Turkish Khanate seems to be beating our order. And the Afghan war is already over, so that's nothing there. Edward VIII sends a letter to Hoover. With rising instability in the US, the new king of the British Empire, Edward VIII, decided to send a private letter to President Hoover. While the media doesn't know the contents of the letter, it is speculated the king warned the president that in case of choosing the radicals, Canada and her allies will need to take drastic measures, as they don't want to spoil the stability in the Canadian-American border. Yeah, and what can I do? So that is the Entente basically saying, if you go with Huey or Long, then bad things will happen. Construction 1. And Battleship 2. Marvellous. We can start building some battleships. It is still 36. How are we doing with 36 techs? Could definitely do with the support equipment and field hospitals. Because we've already got motorised. We haven't started working on a doctrine yet, but I think I'll leave that for the moment. Okay. Still no infantry equipment, but that's because we are building this one unit, so he should be trained up in fairly decent time. I still can't believe 86 civilian factories and not a single one working. It's crazy! It's crazy! America! I'm going to be saying that a lot during this playthrough. I'm just giving you fair warning that America will feature quite heavily. Tibet is being attacked by the Markleek now. And is actually attacking Mongolia too. This is not looking good for the Mongolians. This is looking really bad for Al-Ashorda as well, but that is a different conflict. Okay, now they're out of resources. Weapons and artillery. Are we not building artillery? We are, aren't we? Yeah, we are. What's the problem? Right, so we can now start Battleship 2s. So this is going to be the last destroyer. Now you can be on infinite. This will be the last destroyer, and then we'll switch to the battleship, which should actually be top of the list. Right then. The Great Heat Wave is over. People from Vancouver to Los Angeles to New York and Washington DC let out a sigh of relief as the Great Heat Wave of 36 came to an end, and a new cold front has spread over North America. With the United States' deadliest natural disaster in the 20th century coming to a close, the estimated death toll reached 5,000. But while the heat wave ends, a new chapter in American history is about to begin. 1.5 million manpower is pretty decent. I don't think I've ever actually played as the United States in this. Something a little bit new, a little bit different. I mean, in like just generally Hearts of Iron, I don't think I've ever played USA. It always kind of seemed a little dull, sitting on one side of the world, just going, yeah, I need to wait until I can actually join the war. At least in this, you have other events which occur. A day in September. A social and political consensus in American society has broken down, and the current presidential election campaign is like nothing we have ever seen. The America First Union Party is organizing right-wing militias in the South and Midwest. The syndicalists control the streets of Chicago and Detroit. To avoid a complete breakdown of our society, some senior military commanders believe it may be necessary to suspend the Constitution and cancel the election. No! This is America, elections will definitely go ahead. Okay, 1936 election is going ahead, so we have bypassed that, but we can't do anything until the election is actually won by somebody. And we will have some event in the lead up to that, I believe. Well, still not saber rattling at all. The Papal Conclave, Catholic faithful in Rome, breathed a sigh of relief as the Sistine Chapel's chimney billowed forth white smoke, signifying the election of a new pope. A short while later, it was announced that the pious and popular Eugenio Cardinal Pacelli has become His Holiness Pope Pius XII, leader of the Catholic Church and head of the state for the Italian Federation. Germany, how are you doing? Still have Black Monday. You are doing stuff. Riots and protests at Rangoon University. Dissatisfaction with the lack of popular involvement in government has sparked one of the greatest demonstrations in Burma since their own independence in 1926. Stemming from the great and prestigious Rangoon University, radicalist left students did stuff that was bad. Political power is still pretty high. October. Mechanical computing. How long do we have on that? 61 days. Both of these we will be able to get right at the end of 36, so we can probably wait until 37. The 1936 US presidential election. The results are finally in from what has probably been the most ideologically contested presidential election the United States has ever witnessed. This is probably not the end of our problems, but for the time being, victory goes to... So it goes to Ghana, who is this guy, expanding the FBI. He's one of the more rigorous in terms of what can happen. Espionage and Sedition Act, increasing in popularity for status quo, defend democracy. I mean, that's not looking bad, so that would be the Democrats comes in. Or Charles Curtis, which was the vice president, but he's already dying, so I'm a little bit skeptical about his ability to actually change anything here, although infrastructure construction speed is always going to be popular with me. Huey Long's the other choice. That does come with a political power reduction, but he is one of the more radical ideas in terms of changing things, so he does the Long's agricultural reforms, which replaces the Great Depression with the worst is over, and he does tariffs, so he's becoming a more like insular, a more isolationist nation than the coast-to-coast reform. So again, this is building up America itself. President Reed, of course, is the syndicalist who does the Labour Relations Act. I think they all have that. So you have the banking reform, you have the economic relief. Syndicalist Social Security, which is an increase in political power. Long has nothing like that. So Long's going to have more problems with politics. But I like the idea of tariffs. Like, America needs to look inward. America needs to recover. So we're going to go with Huey Long. America for Americans. America first. And all that stuff. CSA contest election results. The syndicalist leadership of the Combined Syndicates of America have refused to accept the results of our free and fair election. Damn Reed! Right, we're minus 320 political power. Average popularity, however, that has gone up thanks to our embracing of the paternal autocrats. So we are now just over the average point right there. Stability is still very, very low. How high does it need to rise? It needs to get to minus 50. That's going to be a while. How much is needed for disaster? Minus 500. Okay, we're at minus 200 away. So we have a little bit of leeway there. Just a little bit, though. Oh man, you are so close to being ready. You are just lacking some artillery. You know what? I'm going to say you are done. Let's have you positioned in South Carolina. Sure. Just clicking on it randomly. You can join an army and start training. And yes, we may as well start training another one. Sure. Right, so we can get a national focus now. We still can't get any of the other ones yet, so I think we have to go down the presidential line. So the Farmer Relief Act. We're going to start recovering from the Great Depression. One of the first acts that Long wishes to push through Congress is a farmer relief bill that would help the farmers throughout the country. The syndicalists throughout the country counter that this reform doesn't go far enough, while conservatives counter it goes too far. Yet despite this, it seems rather popular throughout the country. See, Long's the man. He's the one who can bring America through this turbulent time and make America great again. Or some such. President Hoover criticises Long. Herbert Hoover was vocal after the election that he openly criticised Long in the Americas, first as being a dangerous choice for the country. He encouraged the Republicans and Democrats to form an alliance to keep Long in check. He doesn't matter anymore. He's not president. Long is. And if he's not careful, Herbert Hoover will end up in jail or something like that. We'll build a wall around him. Infantry, no, production's not that bad. Six guns a day. That's one more than 5 guns a day. It's brilliant. Mechanical computing, research time reduction, and also, well, loads of things. We are right at the end of 36. So I'm going to wait until we hit 37, and then I'm going to pick those technologies. Boom. 37. So, oh, that's a 38. Never mind. These are 37s, however. I would like some more construction. I would like some more machine tools, and I would like some concentrated industry. Excellent. New Year's Day strike. In protest to the election results, the CSA has launched the New Year's Day strike, which crippled the industries of the North. Councils of trade unions were set up to run the cities of the North during the strike. Minus 40 political power and also output. Minus 20% days. Ugh. Long's inaugural address. After winning the election, President Long addressed the nation. He openly attacked the syndicates and socialists for ruining the economy, and betraying the American people with lies of better conditions, masking an attempt to create a dictatorship of the unions. The Americans will not be dictated to by unions. We're free of unions, individualism, states' rights, people's rights, freedom and all that other good stuff. Huzzah.
Orders.
Still in training. You're training more quickly than your predecessor. And how's the battleship construction going? That's the most important thing here. 10 months. Marvellous. We do have a fairly large navy, I believe. We should probably move this around, but I don't know if moving units too much affects the Civil War at all. So I'm just going to leave you for the time being. 240 ships. Farmer Relief Act has passed Long's agricultural reforms. Long's presidential run has consisted of promising wide sweeping reforms to the agricultural industry. Long's first reform would be to institute price control and tariffs on grains and other cereals. So we have a consumer goods factories reduction, which is going to be needed. So yes, we're going to implement the price controls. We're going to be a little more active in regulation and price controls, and basically ensuring that people can't have an unfair economy in which competition matters for nothing. I don't know, stuff. Alright, let's get Long's tariffs. One of Long's first reforms was, stop. Was to implement a tariff on imported goods, especially grain, to support the struggling American farmers. Establishing the Minutemen. One of Long's first actions was to establish a paramilitary organization to deal with issues involving disruptive trade unions and other socialist rabble-rousers. He called this group the Minutemen after the group of American patriots who would be ready to deal with the threats to America in 2 minutes. Surely that should be in 1 minute if they're a Minuteman. Crisis in Danube. Despite the victory in the Valkyrie, the Austro-Hungarian Empire appeared bound to collapse. Austria has declared war on Hungary. Italian Federation declared war on Austria. And we got field hospitals. Huzzah. Doesn't look like there was an Russian Civil War, though. Disappointed! Let's get more bigger guns, or we could get cruisers. I don't think we really need to look that inwardly. Actually, let's get radio. Extra reinforce rate sounds useful. Romania also declared war on Hungary. So Hungary... Actually, Austria is at war with Hungary and Italy. Hungary is at war with Romania and Austria. Interesting. The ship, Edgar Williams, exploded in the New York docks only minutes after entering it. An investigation showed that it contained a large amount of explosives going to an unknown location. Some of the government think this is a plot by European syndicalists to smuggle weapons to the CSA. Oh crap. We might be in for a bit of a disaster soon. Don't want to say that too loudly, though. Uh-oh. Damn. With our recent lack of political power, our economy has plunged into disaster. The situation is, by any measure, catastrophic. There is talk of revolution and coups on the streets, and people have lost their faith in the government. We are struggling to keep our grasp on the country. Uh-oh. Long's 37 reform. The spring of 37, with the country still in economic chaos, Long launched a series of reforms to bring the economy and industry back under stricter political and corporate control. Depending on how aggressive the reforms are, there will no doubt be trouble from the trade unions and industry alike. Well, there's a reason that we got Minutemen. So, aggressive. We'll get this 20% additional factory output, which will hugely increase the number of guns that we're producing to 4 a day. That's a decrease. Can't slip that one past me. Long the trade unions. Reed and the trade unions had for several months crippled the nation's industry in the north. Hoover was unable to break the unions and Long had to despise him for it. The new president would not tolerate Reed and the CSA disrupting the industry. So we can send a bill to do this. Yeah, sending a bill is just like writing an angry letter. Break them the old-fashioned way, send in the Minutemen. Well, I did say that's why we had Minutemen. So we're going to send in the troops. It's more hardcore, it's more radical, but it's the way to solve the nation's problems. It's at the barrel of a gun. Plus, it's also good for the arms companies, you know, because we need more guns. Hungary and Romania have signed a white peace, so I'm going to guess that Hungary gave them some land. Oh, wow. Hungary gave them a lot of land. That does not bode well for Hungary. I mean, the saving grace here for Hungary is the fact that Austria is fighting a two-front war. And has, in fact, got a bit of a cut-off going on there. Are you trained yet? No. Close. Close, but no cigar. What are you lacking? Artillery still? Yes. Long's tariffs. One of Long's first reforms was to implement a tariff on imported goods, especially grain, to support the struggling American farmers. The tariff is necessary to support the American farmer, or the tariff is too extreme. No, consumer goods factories reduction even more. So hopefully this means that we can actually start building some things and stuff. Yay! We now have 9 working again. The roads in Michigan have been completed. We're now working on Wisconsin. The aircraft industry of California was one of the biggest and most profitable industries in the United States. Long was looking to use some of its prosperity to fund his economic reforms along the East Coast. Taxing this profitable industry would not be a popular move. Tax them. Everyone's got to do their part. Although avoiding taxes, no, we can use the money. Like, we need to spend some money to save the economy. I'm sounding more and more CSA here. Whoops. We'll only go so far. It's fine. Don't worry. Coast-to-coast reforms. A major point of Long's reforms was to bring industry and jobs to the East Coast. Long had been suspicious of the industrial barons in California, who he saw as being more interested in making money at the expense of the American people. How could they? How could they indeed? Republic of Korea has declared war on the Empire of Japan. Okie dokie. So that is because Japan didn't have enough troops stationed in and around Korea. As we found out in the Japan campaign. Oh, we just trained another soldier. Hold up, hold up. You need to be trained. You need to join the main army. Marvellous. Anarchists attack Washington, D.C. With the Minutemen being deployed all over America, the anarchists took the opportunity to attack Washington. Several government buildings have been damaged and fires have been set throughout the city. Martial law. Crackdown. More guns. Reed declares the workers' state the rise of the CSA. The combined syndicates of America have seized major cities and declared independence from the United States of America. Disaster has begun. We will stand by the Republic. Right, let's send in some troops. No, not music. Troops. I mean, we can play some music while the troops march into position, of course. Alright, and you will need a general. Do Harding for the moment. Fortress Buster. This is a fairly industrial area. Just have you guys prepping like that. Minnesota falls to the CSA. Minneapolis has joined with Reed in the CSA because of the government's right-wing policies. The workers who have laboured throughout the 30s feel that this is enough for them, and they've joined the combined syndicates. Damn it! Long declares the United States a dead nation. The rise of the American Union State has declared independence from the United States. Well, stand by the country, of course. Long knows what's right for this nation. Combined Syndicates of America has declared war on us. No! The United States has declared war on us. No! Alright, so we need to get our troops together. Oh, no, we have no troops yet. We will deal with that momentarily. The Second American Civil War. To uneducated foreigners, it might seem like the crisis in the United States happened out of nowhere, but experts agree that this was a civil war years in the making. Ever since the collapse of the New York Stock Exchange in 1925, the economy of the United States has been in constant downturn. Now, the United States has devolved into a three-way civil war between the loyalists of the old government, the syndicates of America, combined syndicates of America, and conservative and xenophobic American Union State. There have already been reports of arriving volunteers from Europe to fight for a faction of their liking. The Second American Civil War might just be the first of many battlefields between the great powers of the world in this tough time for humanity. High popularity. Industrial resources. Oh, that was just giving us stuff. Oh, bloody hell. Alright, high popularity. Civilian support for the ruling party has reached a high level. How high? Ooh, very high. 75. We're only 5% away from very high. Fantastic. Okay, so that's more political power. Oh, and we lost all the penalties. Ha! Excellent. The Appalachians are ripe for the taking. Most of the small towns of the Appalachian Mountains are still loyal to the old government of the United States. However, tensions are brewing with the population reportedly being split evenly among loyalists, syndicalists and firsters. Law enforcement is spread thin. The US Reserve forces would need some time to arrive. A decisive strike could even lead to some inhabitants rallying behind us. It would also place us in control of the choke point controlling railway traffic into the eastern seaboard. Yeah, we're going to send an expedition for that. Rise of the OSS military. The AUS quickly found enough troops eager to beat up the syndicalist menace concentrated in the CSA. Boom. Free troops. Part of the US Navy joins the AUS. Ships that were loyal to the US have joined the AUS. Excellent. We have a navy. Ooh, wow. 60 ships. Quite a big navy. Cool. I think America still has more. Yeah, slightly more. Dixie Metal. The war was hard on the American Union State, as it had less resources than the other powers. The people of the AUS rallied and began handing in pots and pans to be melted in support of the war effort. This increased the metal supply in the American Union State. Oh, fantastic. The Second American Civil War. The declaration of war has plunged the country into war. The Second American Civil War has begun, and there will be no retreat, no surrender, and no quarter. North Carolina, Florida, Arkansas, and Louisiana have joined the American Union State. The state legislatures have voted to join the American Union State. They were welcomed with open arms, as they would help in the struggle for a stronger, more fiercely American America. And with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this, then please do hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, then do consider subscribing. If you have any tips or advice for me, then do let me know in the comments below. And if you are looking for other ways of supporting the channel, then please do check out the Patreon. Finally, stay tuned for the next episode, because it is going to be a good one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.